What's going on, everyone? My name is Jasmine. On today's episode of The Slain Project, we're going to be talking about Teddy and Juliet Little Light and their 3-month-old baby named Wyatt. They disappeared 2 days before Christmas in 2008. 2 weeks after that, their abandoned truck was found, and 5 months after that, the bodies of Teddy and Juliet were found, and there was no trace of baby Wyatt. Authorities say that they died of exposure after walking away from their broken-down truck. But family and friends believe that foul play is involved because a lot of things are not adding up. And this happened in Bighorn County on the Crow Reservation in Montana, and it is a hot spot for MMIP cases. And if you would like to see more videos on missing and murdered Indigenous people, click that subscribe button and the notification bell. Now let's get right into it. The Little Light family has 4 members. They are the father, Teddy, the mother, Juliet, their son Teddy Jr., and baby Wyatt. In 2008, the father Teddy was 30, Juliet was 25, Teddy Jr. was 2, and baby Wyatt was only 3 months old. By all accounts, Teddy was a hard worker and a hunter who provided for his family. Juliet was well liked and a very sociable person. Teddy had been previously married and had 3 other children from that union. After that marriage ended, Teddy began a relationship with Juliet, and they soon had Teddy Jr. Teddy and Juliet married in September 2008, and they welcomed baby Wyatt into the world a couple weeks later. The family belonged to the Crow tribe that is located in southern Montana and is right next to the Cheyenne Reservation. There have been many disappearances and deaths in this region that involve Indigenous people. The bulk of the Crow Reservation belongs in Bighorn County, and its county seat is Hardin, Montana. Hardin is located just off the Crow Reservation. Border towns like this have been notoriously known to have racial tensions. There have been a lot of complaints and disputes between families of the missing and murdered in the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office and the long-reigning former county coroner Terry Bullis. A lot of the complaints stem from improper investigations into deaths and a lot of deaths being labeled as hypothermia or undetermined. The scandalous behavior did not end when Terry Bullis retired. His successor, Daryl Craig Nordquist, was appointed as county coroner on July 30th, 2020, and he was arrested in early February 2023 on various charges committed while he was coroner.
Bighorn County Coroner Daryl Craig Nordquist is behind bars tonight after he was arrested last night by Yellowstone County deputies. According to the 4 Points Press, Nordquist was taken into custody around 5 p.m. in Billings and is being held on a $60,000 bond in connection with the January 22nd incident. He was wanted for felony attempted burglary and failure to appear in Bighorn County after he allegedly tried to kick in the door at a residence owned by the Hardin Cemetery District. According to the woman in the house, Nordquist was reportedly making threats against her and her husband, telling them, "You guys don't know what you have coming." Nordquist, who took over in 2020 for longtime Bighorn County Coroner Terry Bullis, is also facing multiple criminal charges from earlier cases in Bighorn and Yellowstone counties.
I am also going to recommend that you watch Murder in Bighorn. It is a new documentary that came out in February 2023. It is well produced and gives a good rundown of the corruption that has taken place in Hardin. I also did a hypothermia death video in episode 10, and I explain a little about this as well. I will leave links to both in the description box. But being a young family can be hard at times. It is reported that Teddy and Juliet relocated to Billings, Montana to find work and financial stability. Jobs on the reservation are hard to come by, so they decided it would be in their best interest to make the move. Teddy found construction work with a flooring company, and Juliet last worked for a place called Associated Foods. While they were getting on their feet, they stayed with various relatives in Billings and left their 2-year-old son Teddy in the care of Teddy's mother named Latona in Crow Agency on the reservation. On Tuesday, December 23, 2008, Teddy, Juliet, and baby Wyatt drove their 1996 Chevy pickup truck to Latona's house to drop off Christmas gifts for Teddy Jr. When their visit was concluding, Teddy told his mom that they were headed south to Wyola, which is still on the reservation and about 34 miles south of Crow Agency. This is the last reported sighting of the family alive. One of Juliet's aunts would later say that she received a call from her that day. She told her aunt that she was headed to the store and wanted to know if she needed anything while she was there. She ended the call by telling her aunt that she loved her and that she would see her later. Christmas came and went with no word from the family. Both Teddy and Juliet's family thought it was odd that they did not see them over the holiday. Perhaps each side of their families thought they spent the holiday with the other side of the family. Juliet's grandma, Edith Redwolf, passed away on December 29th, and family members could not locate Juliet to inform her. They were a little concerned, but in the whirlwind of the moment, they just figured she would find out and they would see her at the services. The funeral was held on Saturday, January 3rd, 2009, and when Juliet did not show up at all, her family began to panic because they knew she would never have missed her grandma's funeral. Family members of the couple began to ask around and do cursory searches over the rest of the weekend before officially reporting them as missing on Monday, January 5th. I am not sure if an alert about their disappearance was put on the news right away, but later that same day, an anonymous tip came in about the truck they were driving. At about 7 p.m., the abandoned vehicle was located 6 miles up Grapevine Road, going towards Fort Smith from Highway 91. This location is still on the Crow Reservation and is in the totally opposite direction of their last known destination of travel to Wyola and about 4 miles west of Fort Smith. Even with these precise location descriptions, I am unable to get a view on Google Maps because the street view is unavailable on this road. This is also near the Grapevine Ranch. I am unsure if the truck was in the opposite direction of the main travel path into the ranch, but it seems like the truck should have been spotted sooner. And who would have been on this road in the middle of winter, besides the residents of the few homes in the area? This area is remote and there was a lot of snow on the ground. But more importantly, why did they want to remain anonymous? It could have seemed like a hassle to get involved in the situation, or maybe the person had warrants. But it makes you wonder if the anonymous person was somehow involved in or knew of the family's disappearance before it was reported. The person also could have just noticed the truck previously and did not think about it again until they seen reports on the family. There was no information given on when this person first noticed the truck being there, but a local rancher said that around the same time, a truck and trailer had to be pulled out of a snowdrift in the same area as Teddy's truck. It was very cold and snowing on December 23rd when the family was last seen, and there was a lot of concern for their safety. They had been missing for 2 weeks at this point. Searches for the family fanned out in a 12-mile radius from where the truck was found. This would prove to be a futile effort due to the amount of snow covering the ground. Helicopters were also used at least 2 times from what I have read. They were hoping to see something in the melting snow, but they did not see anything. In the meantime, family members of Teddy and Juliet's families continued searching for them. There were unconfirmed sightings of them in Billings that led to nowhere. Their families estimated that up to 30 relatives and volunteers searched 7 days a week for 5 months. Nothing would happen in the disappearance case until the winter snow melted. On Monday, May 11, 2009, a ranch hand from Grapevine Ranch found scattered human remains located about 2 to 3 miles from where the truck was found. Also found at the scene was scattered adult and children's clothing. Animals had gotten to the remains and spread bones and clothing within the field. The BIA and FBI were immediately on the scene. Both Teddy and Juliet's families were notified right away about the discovery. Investigators had initially told the families that the remains were those of an adult and child. The autopsy on the Little Lights was held on May 12th, and the remains were positively identified as belonging to Teddy and Juliet. The next day, Terry Bullis met with their families at his mortuary to break the news. He listed the cause of death as undetermined, but consistent with exposure. Baby Wyatt's remains have never been found, and it is presumed that animals also got to his remains, but there is absolutely no evidence of this. Terry went on to say that he does not suspect foul play because they had hundreds of dollars in their pockets when he examined them. So now we will go over the facts that were reported and statements made by family members. There are a few inconsistencies. There was a 400-page report released by the FBI in 2013. I was not able to find it online, but there was a brief mention of it in a news article. The very first conflicting reporting is that of the pickup truck. Juliet's aunt had stated in an interview published in the Billings Gazette on May 12, 2009, that the FBI told her that when they first found the truck, it started and had a half tank of gas. But later, when the FBI released the 400-page report, it stated that when a mechanic examined the truck, he found several minor things wrong, but the main problem was that the serpentine belt was dislocated. In the mechanic's report, he went on to say that the car would overheat and lose power steering, and they would not be able to drive far without the belt being properly connected. He thought it was possible that the alternator probably died and the battery lost power. Teddy grew up on the res and was known to hunt. I believe that he would have some knowledge about car repairs and would have known how to fix the loose belt or fix it just enough to get to safety. One more thing about this is that Juliet's aunt said that when the truck was found, it was backed up 30 feet off the road. You would think that if the truck had suddenly broken down, that they would have stopped on the road or tried to pull off on the side of the road. If the serpentine belt was disconnected, the lack of power steering would have made it a little difficult to back the truck up like it was found. Another possibility is that someone could have deliberately pulled the serpentine belt off. Without access to the FBI report, the condition of the belt is unknown. Was it weathered, worn, or cracked? Or was it in good condition? It was stated that Teddy knew the area where the truck was found very well. He hunted that area with his uncles. The truck was found across the creek of the Grapevine Ranch's branding corrals. Teddy would have known that by the corrals, there was a small cabin that was supplied with food and firewood. The FBI went through the couple's cell phone records and financials. In the article that spoke of the 400-page report, investigators stated that the disappearance of the family was initially deemed a kidnapping for a short time. They also said that several people told them that Juliet was using and selling meth and that they were in debt, fought a lot, and were considering a divorce. The FBI lab also found meth in Teddy and Juliet's DNA, but could not determine if they had drugs in their system at the time of their deaths. Drugs can be embedded in your DNA from long-term drug use, but Juliet had just given birth 3 months prior. Most hospitals check the babies for signs of drug use. I have never seen anything that said Juliet had problems with CPS. Also, in their family photo taken just before they died, they do not look like meth addicts. It is important to include the details about the current and prior drug use because it can help determine what may have happened. Investigators also said the area where the truck and remains were found is a known location for meth deals. This could be a reason as to why the family was not near Wyola, where they said they were going after dropping off the Christmas gifts. So what happened to the Little Light family? I think that Terry Bullis was premature in ruling out foul play. The deaths were labeled as undetermined, meaning that he did not know what caused the deaths, but he put in that they were consistent with exposure. Because animals had scattered the remains, he probably was not able to examine all pieces of bone and flesh. There could have been bullet holes or stab wounds that were not seen because of this. The couple also could have been shot and left for dead, which could be why there supposedly was evidence of exposure on the remaining flesh. Just because they had cash in their pockets does not mean foul play was not involved. Many people are killed all the time over principal matters, and the killers do not take any valuables from them. And if meth addicts did rob them, maybe they only thought to take the drugs from them. And seeing that it was winter with lots of snow, if they were involved with a drug deal, why not just meet somewhere in town? But why were they found so far away from their truck? Were they killed at the truck site and then dumped where their bodies were found? I am not sure if this is possible. It would depend on what type of car someone drove and how deep the snow was. It had snowed on the night they went missing and a few more days in between when their truck was found. This covered up their bodies as well as any tracks. Did they really break down and try to make their way to the cabin that Teddy knew of? I could not find the exact location of the cabin or where the bodies were found, so I am unsure if it seemed like they were headed that way. I also did not ever read if there was cell service on the road they were on, but it is a remote gravel road, so it is possible there was not any service at the time they went missing. But if they were trying to walk to safety, why did they not stay on Grapevine Road and make their way to the ranch? They would have had better chances of running into someone else driving along the road. They also would be able to call for help from the ranch. Finding the ranch would be easier than trying to navigate through a snowy field over a stream to a nearby cabin. They had their baby with them, so I think that they would have chosen the safer option. And their clothing was scattered with their remains. They never specified what clothing was found, but was there winter jackets? Did they ever find a diaper bag or backpack filled with diapers or formula? There should have been evidence of baby supplies scattered in the field. If not, this is highly suspicious from my point of view. The more I think about what may have happened, the more questions I have. And that's what makes this case so frustrating. The FBI has explored all possibilities, including a Mexican mafia hit to black market baby selling rings. And in the end, it was determined that they most likely started walking in sub-zero temperatures after their truck broke down. Teddy and Juliet were laid to rest on Saturday, May 16, 2009 at the Lodge Grass Cemetery. About 500 people showed up to pay their respects. Baby Wyatt's remains have never been found. Did he meet the same fate as his parents, or could someone have murdered them and taken him away? If he were alive today in February 2023, he would be 14 years old. The BIA and FBI have a lot of unsolved cases in Indian country. There is often a wall of silence because tribal members often do not trust them and therefore do not talk to the law. There is also often a fear of retaliation for speaking out against criminals. But over time, loyalty changes, people grow old, and people die. If you have any information about what happened to Teddy, Juliet, and Wyatt Littlelight, please contact your local FBI office. Their families deserve to know the truth. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Let me know what you think down below, and if you knew the Littlelights, please share any memories of them, and I will see you in my next video.